guys? Welcome back to the Mic Check podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thanks for tapping in. Today, we're going to talk about the top ranked card that took place over the weekend and some of the notable fights that occurred and my thoughts on each fighter very briefly. But before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate the feedback. All right, so first up, we're going to talk about the top ranked card that took place on ESPN Plus over the weekend after the Anthony Joshua fight card was over. So this was an evening time card, and they actually loaded it pretty well with top prospects over at Top Rank. And shout out to Queens of the Ring. They put out a question: which network has the best prospects right now? And this Top Rank by a long shot. If you're early in the career, you're looking to get matched really well, and you want to be on TV on a regular basis, Top Rank is the place to go. Bob Arum has done that really well. Now, what you do after you become kind of notable, like you got a name for yourself, you got about 15, 20 fights under your belt, it's probably better if you go look somewhere else, because I just don't think that they market specific types of fighters really well. There's a certain demographic that they cater to that if you're not in that demographic, you got to go somewhere else. Anyway, so at the top of the card, you had Abdullah Mason, and this isn't comprehensive. I'm not going to cover every single fight, but I'm going to cover the ones that I felt were notable. Abdullah Mason had a fight, got a first round knockout on a nice sharp hook to the chin, took his opponent out early in the fight. I think it might have lasted like 80 seconds or something like that. This was another notch on his belt, made short work of his opponent, and he don't get paid for overtime, and he made sure he didn't go a second over. I love the potential in this young man. You've seen us do a profile on him, looking to set up an interview with him in the near future. Now that he's got another win under his belt, we'll definitely want to talk about this fight and whatever's next for him. He had a little struggle with weight this time, trying to hit that 135. So I'm thinking he might be on the verge of moving up to 140. Maybe he'll try to hit 35 one more time, but there's a significantly different type of smoke at 40 for guys at his level. There's not a strong prospect group, so he'll be matched up pretty tough. Speaking of tough matchups, next on the card you saw Tiger Johnson. He had another one of those matchups that his opponent was there to fight, and Tiger had some struggles in terms of the defensive side, trying to put himself in a good position. I mean, he got his offense off and he did what he needed to do. It's just this was a tougher out than maybe he expected. I do feel like he was fully prepared. I thought he trained really well. He looked good, but it obviously was a growing pains fight. You need to go the distance and kind of see how your body responds over 8 rounds, and he did that. Also on the card was Emiliano Vargas. He had a good fight. And then I can't remember the kid's first name now, but Milton, he was on this card and he looked terrible. They matched him up tough and it did not work out well for him, unfortunately. So I don't know what Top Rank is going to do, because it seems like they've been a little bit temperamental with their prospects, where you kind of need to keep winning to keep showing up on these cards. Because if you think about it, you ain't seen Duke Reagan in a while, and he got a gift in his last fight, and it's been a minute. So I'm thinking if you don't look good in these fights, they're going to pull you back. Speaking of that, Jahi Tucker had some struggles with weight and, trying to stay in fights. I think he had 2 fight days, basically, that he didn't get to make, one of them due to weight. So now he showed up on the card, and they matched him tough against a guy from Georgia, the Russian Georgia, not U.S. Georgia. And it was Nico, and his last name was like Snishnikova or something like that. We're just going to call him Nico. Nico came out and buzzed Jahi early in this fight. And when he got back to the corner, he didn't sit down, but Jahi definitely came back out for the second round and responded really well. He came out aggressive. He was first. He led. He dictated ring position. He backed the guy up, and it took him about 3 or 4 rounds before he really was able to put the pedal to the metal. But eventually, he was able to really stamp home his effect on the match, what was going to happen. And I mean, he commenced to just beating the guy up throughout the rest of the fight. I thought that he showed a lot of toughness, but if I had to give one major critique, it's going to be pattern recognition. He got hit by the same shot repeatedly, and this is constructive criticism. I think he's got a pretty good career ahead of him. Champion, maybe unified champion, could be in the cards for him. He's at 154. That division is about to experience some turnover because there's a generation that's aging out with Jamel Charlo, and that younger generation, including Sebastian Fundora and Tim Tszyu, is coming up. So as those championship guys that are older age out of the sport or up to 160, these guys are going to be competitive. There's a door open for Jahi. He did say he wants some Xander, so we'll see how that goes. But that said, defensively, he's going to need to tighten up because them dudes at 54 crack. And he showed good toughness against a career 154 pounder. Also, his footwork is a little bit problematic, but these are things that can be cleaned up. Something that he has that you don't want to have to try and dig out of a fighter is that intensity and dog. I mean, you'd rather have to ask him, hey, dial it down a little bit sometime and stay under control than to have to keep trying to encourage it out of the person, you know? So I think that that's going to be a good asset for him to have. He has that energy. He's got that fight in him. He's got that fighter and championship spirit, and that'll carry him a lot like Oshaki Foster. He's got that, I'm going to go get it. So even if he was to take a loss at some point, he's still going to be a guy that is going to be a tough matchup for anybody. So I thought overall it was a decent card. The night ended with Robiesy Ramirez and Isaac Dogboe. I didn't agree with the scorecards, but it did look like Ramirez might have pulled out the win. I need to go back and watch it. But I thought it was a competitive fight. A lot of people saying Dogboe didn't look good. I thought he looked improved. I thought he made a good showing of himself. Whether that gets him another title shot, I don't know. The powers that be will figure that out. But as far as just putting on a good fight, there's going to be a matchmaker that's going to say, hey, I got a guy that's good for him. And I thought that he listened to his coach. He did what he had to do. Ramirez did just enough to win. And I thought he worked in fits and spurts, and that made it a closer fight than need be. Had he just sat there and boxed and controlled the location of the fight, I think he probably could have coasted to a victory against Dogboe. But for his part, Isaac made it a tough night for Robiesy Ramirez. But that being said, there was one other fight. It was just before the main event. And the guys' names are escaping me. I'll put it in the comments just so you guys know. But the co-main, I think these dudes end up throwing like 900 punches each. It was rock'em sock'em from start to finish, and it's not my favorite type of fight to watch. But it was just interesting to see the gas tank on these guys. So when people say you can't just throw punches and bunches all night long, that's a lie. They're smaller weights, so obviously you can go. This 126 pounds, but them dudes let their hands go for 12 straight rounds. So it was just interesting dynamic to see play out, even though I didn't really stay locked in on the fight. Every time I looked up at the screen, I just saw punches going. So it's just admirable when you see people that have that level of stamina and endurance. So kudos to them for putting on a great performance. One guy finished the fight with a broken jaw. So we don't know, he'll probably be out the ring for 6 months now because they'll suspend his license until he's fully healthy and passes physicals. But that's my opinion on what happened. Would love to get your thoughts. This has been T-Word for the Mic Check Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next time I'm out.